Alright, so poetry reading event. Just got done with that. I'm heading home now. Stopped at Hannaford to get some groceries. So if you hear some plastic crinkling, that's what that is. So basically there were two speakers there. There were two guests that were the ones reading from their poetry books. And they were both really nice. They seemed really cool. And two women, one a little older than me, one little older than me. And one of them was a therapist, which I thought was really cool. So basically it was them, I was off to the side, and then there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 other people, I think. Something like that, maybe 10 or 11 other people. This sounds like a lot. It wasn't a whole lot, but I mean, out of the 20 chairs, I'd say 20, 25 chairs, most of the room was filled, small little activities room, but whatever. So the whole thing, they go up there and they're reading. One of them goes and she reads a bunch of hers. I think I'm so terrible with names. Clara, I believe, was the first one. She read a whole bunch of her poems, which were familiar in some ways familiar to me with how I think about things, and how she was writing a lot about berries and her mother and people in her life and stuff like that, and it was obviously really nice and personal stuff and whatever have you. And she went on, I think it's 15 minutes. Then the other goes up. Her name was Jess, and she read a few poems pertaining to her family and her son with cerebral palsy, which was unexpected, because we just went from lighthearted, just whimsical kind of thing, to her being I might choke up a little bit during this. We're oh fuck, what? But she did great. They both did great. And then once they got done reading and everything, people asked some questions, whatever. And then the host of the event for the library was and we have some guest open mic. We have the open mic segment. I know we have Chris over here who has a poem to read, and anyone else can follow him. There was no one else. I was the only one. I'm are you fucking kidding me? As soon as I got done, I wanted to do it first anyway, usually I'm not like that. I'd rather follow, I'd rather be third so I can see how the first two people did it and then copy them. So I can narrow down what I should and shouldn't be saying, and really, chop off the bit of the edge, make sure I'm refining down what I'm saying, getting in and out. But yeah, I was the only one. So I go up there and I introduce myself. And I explained to them hey, so I don't do much poetry. I'm not a poet. That's not typically my thing. I more focus on long form novels in a series, and I have some books over there, whatever have you. I also felt really bad. I feel I was hijacking their event, because it was their event, but and I was just an open mic, guest, read one poem kind of thing. And I as soon as I saw them setting up some books at a table, I asked the guy who was in charge of it, Matthew, I'm would it be pretentious of me, because I brought some books, would it be pretentious of me to set up some of my stuff on this table? And he goes, by all means. So I was okay. So I brought 3 of book 1. I brought 4 or 5 of Incarnation, and then maybe 8 of the poetry book. And I set them up on my little table, put some business cards there, and walked away from it. And so when I got up there to read, I pointed over, just I have some of my books over there. And I the whole time just oh man, I feel like an asshole. This is not my event. I shouldn't be advertising my shit. This is their event. So I tried to keep it as down as I could. But I did feel hold on, we'll get there. So I was struggling so hard with which poem I wanted to read, because I wanted to read Spiders, but then I decided not to, because it's a little bit long and it feels a little bit more like a lyric song, because it kind of has a chorus section. Then I thought about A Little Better Than Me, and I was oh, that one's a little bit long and really fucking emo. And then the other one I wanted to read was also longer and more emo. So when I got up there and I explained, I'm going to read this poem called Palpitation, and it goes through, and it's talking about anxiety and caffeine. And I was all right, that's good. We'll keep it really straightforward, really simple, easy to understand. Everybody here probably has anxiety and drinks a lot of caffeine, and this is just how it's affecting me and stuff, and how I worry about it, and blah, blah, blah. So it's I think I said something or at least I wanted to say, I wanted to keep it as lighthearted, not manic or depressing or anything like that. So I chose an easier one. So I read that off, and when I tell you my throat turned into a rattle, my volume dropped from 40% to 15%, and I'm doing my best to speak out loud, but I was just definitely just starting to mumble a little bit as I was trying to get through it. I had a part where I had to like reset and like sorry. I explained to them I've never done public speaking. It's been like 15-16 years since I stood in front of more than 2 people and said 5 words. So, and they were all really good. They were encouraging. It was very nice. I did feel kind of like a child, but I know that's not how I was being perceived, but that's just how I perceive myself. They were very sweet. They were all just like, you're doing good. Yep. And whatever have you. And even Jess, the poet, one of the poets who was next to me, was just like whispering, she's like, you're doing great. And I was like, you're a therapist. I want to hug you. I need you. Help me. So I got through it and I read it. I got to the end and everyone clapped and everything. And I again realized I was the only one doing a fucking guest poem. So I went awkwardly, took my seat. And the first thing I did when I got up there was a little podium, a little pedestal, or a pew, whatever you want to call it, you know. And I put myself behind that. I was like, I feel safer behind this. I can read behind this. And they're just like, yeah, by all means. So I definitely felt a lot, not confident, but a lot safer standing behind the little pedestal thing and reading from behind it than if I was standing bare in front of it. Because it was really intimate. Like, it was really close space. So the best part about it, though, was we had those 2 poets. Then there was me. And then Clara, like I believe her name, Clara, her partner, husband, boyfriend, whatever he was to her, came up. And I was talking to him a little bit earlier because he had like a weird briefcase, like a musical briefcase. And he came up and he's just like, I'm going to play some music. This dude busts out a fucking a MIDI tool and he starts playing a saxophone to a jazz song through a mini harmonica. I'm like, what the who allowed this? This dude, he has this whole case full of harmonicas. He had like 30 harmonicas and a bunch of cables, like a mini reverberator, a little mini amp playing through, not an amp, I think he was playing it through the MIDI tool application on his small iPad. And so he plugs in this it looks like a fat fucking black harmonica with a bunch of holes, and it's one of those, like, you know, you blow into it and it reads the pressure, it sends a signal to the iPad plays the music kind of thing. So it's digital instrument tool. So he goes up there and the dude just starts playing jazz music from a harmonica. What is happening? But, you know, good for him. I felt so bad though. I know I'm not going to get into that, never mind, because who knows who might see this, but I'm going to keep that quiet. But anyway, so he did great, everyone did great, and then at the end, I went through and I, said hi to them, to the readers, and I bought one each of their books. I think Jess only had 1, and then Clara had 3, and so I bought one from each of them. And I just did it through Venmo, so that was quick and easy. I felt so bad. I was trying to type in, and I'm really bad making sure I get someone's name spelled correctly. And I'm like, can you clarify that this is you, Clara? Can you clarify that this is you? And she goes, yep, that should be it. And I said, all right, I'm going to send it. I put in the code, and it worked. Let me know you got it. She checked. So I had to do that for both of them. I was, again, super awkward. I had both of them sign it. And then I didn't know that the library did this, but when you do an event like that, if you bring in your books as part of the thing, which technically I was like kind of part of the thing, the library buys one each of the books that you bring. So I'm sitting there like, oh, I brought 3 books. I brought book 1, Incarnation, and the poetry book. I didn't expect to sell any, obviously. I just would kind of have them there. If anything, maybe the poetry book, because it's a poetry thing, and that would be a quick, easy, like, oh, $8, $10 or something like that. No, the library buys one of each. So it's like, oh, okay. I just walked out of there with $35, 15, 10, and 10. So that's cool. I didn't sell any to anybody else. I did not expect to, and I wouldn't be upset in the slightest. So, but I didn't really know what to do with myself after. I just kind of stood over by my table, which is away from all of the others, and they were all over there talking to each other. And I was like, again, I know I'm not the featured person, so I feel awkward, but I kind of want to stay near the table in case somebody does come over. I want to go over there and be with the group, but also my stuff's at the other end of the room. So just kind of stood there like a putz, chewed on a brownie for a minute, talked to both of them, and talked to the other guy, Matthew, the guy at the library. And he's like, because I spoke to him before, obviously on the phone, talking about stuff, and he's like, I didn't realize that was you until you said your name, because, we talked on the phone a few weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, I said I was going to be here. He said, you did say you were going to be here. So, and he was really cool. He was a really nice guy. So, overall, it was a lot of fun. I was terrified the whole time. I arrived an hour early to make sure I could sit with the jitters and get them out. They did not come out. I was literally like, when I say that I was trying to read the poem, I was reading at 15% volume. I'm not exaggerating. I was like, every day needs stagnation in my heart. And so I asked him, like, I did apologize, saying, like, I know I was probably really quiet and mumbly. He said, no, just a little bit. Maybe next time speak a little louder. But again, it was a small space. It was intimate, but there were some older people there too. So I don't think they probably could have understood what I was saying. But it's hard because I try to, in my brain, I'm like, I want to read it as fast as possible just to get my fucking self out of here. But I tried to slow down my pace as much as I could. So anyway, I do believe I have another small event thing where I'm going to set up my own little table. It's not like, oh, my driveway sucks ass. It's not a, I'm not like a featured artist or a featured author or anything like that. But I did feel like when they were doing like a Q&A round, there were a bunch of times where I was like, oh, I kind of wish I was up there because I want to give my input about that question too, because I have a lot to say about these things. So I was like, I have answers I want to give, but obviously it's not my thing. So I just sat down, I sat on my hands and shut up. So anyways, that was the event. It was a lot of fun. I would try to do it again at some point, but I do want to get more into doing like tables and setting up my own little booth, which I should be doing in Ashland within I think like a month. I think it's May 20 something like that, May 6th 13th, I don't know. I have it written down. So time to go throw in an oven pizza and hopefully not get attacked by my rabbit again. That's a story. Thanks for watching.